Fat Pat is one of the biggest rap legends in Houston. He inspired a whole wave of Southern artists and never even released an album while he was alive. Before he had the
No offense, but I never heard of Fat Pat before. So this is a little documentary, and so we're gonna learn about him if you have not learned about him yet. Like,
chance to hit the mainstream, he was brutally killed in his hometown. And today we're diving deep into the wild story.
I swear, bro, it's every rapper that has passed away is always killed in their hometown, bro. Like, what is up, bro? It's like y'all tell me everybody just felt like I just left them or something like that. Why is it every single time it's like that, man? That's so sad.
Behind his death. Some of the biggest artists in the rap game today are from the South, but it hasn't always been that way. Back in the 90s, it was all about the East and West Coast, and almost no one in the industry was holding it down for the South. And before we get into the crazy story behind Fat Pat and his murder, we've got to take a look at the dude who changed the whole game and almost turned Pat into a superstar. DJ Screw came up in a tiny town called Smithville, Texas. His dad was a truck driver, and back in the day, Screw wanted to be just like him. The rap game would look a lot different today if Screw hopped behind the wheel instead of the turntables, but luckily, that's not how it went down. In the 80s, he saw a breakdancing movie called Breakin'. He was into the music they played in the movie, and when he found his mom's old turntable, he started scratching records and learning how to mix tracks. Screw wasn't just a DJ though, he was a classically trained pianist too. There aren't a lot of dudes in the rap game who knew as much about music as Screw did, and all of that experience helped him create a whole new lane. After he moved to Houston with his dad, Screw met a local DJ named Daryl Scott who also owned a record store. Scott was the first guy that Screw heard slowing down dance records to blend them in with hip-hop tracks, so Screw took the idea and ran with it. Scott had taught a dude named Michael Price how to DJ, and when Screw linked up with him, they started playing chopped and screwed records at parties and making the whole block go crazy. They were on their way to taking over the underground scene, but then Michael was tragically stabbed to death before he could see the grind pay off. Losing his homie like that was a huge loss, but instead of letting it slow him down, Screw just went harder and started pushing homemade mixtapes all over the south side of Houston. He had all the hustlers and dealers coming through to get Screw tapes, and they're the ones who were bumping it in their whips and spreading the chopped and screwed sound in the streets. There's even a rumor in Houston that the first time anyone on the north side of the city heard a Screw tape was when someone jacked a whip from the south side that had a tape in the deck. Screw was also playing DJ gigs around the city, but it was the Screw tapes that turned him into a legend. At first, he was just slowing down and mixing lists of songs that people brought him, but then local rappers started showing up at his crib to freestyle over the chopped and screwed tracks. Fat Pat was one of the first dudes who came in and started rapping with Screw. They would spend hours just freestyling beats and rhymes, and from the jump, it was clear Fat Pat had something special. He wasn't the only rapper hanging around though. Screw's crib would be full of dudes ready to hop on the mic, and that's how the Screwed Up clique started. Screw let anyone on the mic who wanted to spit something, and it didn't matter if they were dope or not because he wanted everyone in the crew to win. There were over 30 dudes who were affiliated with the Screwed Up clique.
That's a W man's right there, man. Not everybody like that, man. That's a W man's.
Including George Floyd, who went by the name Big Floyd back in the day. Screw was always surrounded by street dudes.
That's crazy. He even had George Floyd in it too. That's a W man's.
But he wasn't active like that. Sometimes he'd have people pulling up to the crib who had beef with each other, but at Screw's spot, they had to either squash it or leave. A lot of his homies were moving weight.
Bro, that's how you have respect, bro. Like Michael Jackson, for example, when he would bring the C's and the B's around each other, they would just be cool with each other. Even though they have long time beef, bro, they would just be cool with each other because of Michael Jackson, bro. You had that much power, bro. You could do a lot, man.
And hustling, but Screw wanted to put them on in the rap game so they can get away from all the drama. It wasn't even just rappers in the Screwed Up clique. DJ Red was making money by fixing people's tapes when they broke. Big Jut was a barber who kept everyone fresh, and a dude named Ike sprayed the whips with candy paint. Back in the early days, Screw was just selling tapes out of his crib. Cars would line up outside for hours every time he mixed a new tape, and the cops kept kicking in his door because they thought he was moving weight. Eventually, it got so big that Screw just opened his own shop called Screwed Up Records and Tapes. Going legit was a huge win for Screw and the rest of the group, but not even 1 week after the shop opened, DJ Screw lost another homie to the streets, and the South lost one of its greatest rappers. Fat Pat and DJ Screw have been working together for years, and the two of them changed the entire sound of Southern hip-hop. Pat could rhyme for hours and never say the same thing twice, and by the late 90s, he was already known as the best rapper in the city. He was playing shows all over Texas, but getting wrapped up with a concert promoter from Austin turned out to be a deadly mistake. Pat was working with a dude named Kenneth Weasel Watson to book shows outside of Houston. It's not exactly clear how everything went wrong, but this is the story according to rumors and people who were close to the situation. Pat ended up not getting paid for a couple of shows that Weasel set up, and Weasel didn't have the cash to get him right. Weasel was moving weight at the time, and he offered to just give Pat some product that he could flip and get his money. Pat came up in the streets and used to sell weed, but by that time, he was trying to leave it behind him and go fully legit in the rap game. He turned the offer down and said he wasn't getting back into the hustle, so Weasel said he'd give him the cash instead. Weasel was allegedly working on getting the money to pay Pat, but then one of his stash houses got robbed and he was low on cash and products. He went down to Houston with around $30K to pick up some more work and flip it, but before he left, he hit up Pat because Weasel knew he was tapped in with all the street dudes down there. Pat told him he wasn't going to get involved, but Weasel headed to Houston anyway to find product. According to rumors, some of Pat's homies spotted Weasel riding around with all of his cash and decided to stick him up. After Weasel got robbed, he went back to the apartment his girlfriend was renting and called up Pat. Rumors say he already thought Pat was involved with the stash spot getting raided, so when he got robbed in Houston, Pat was the first dude he thought might be responsible. Weasel told Pat he had his money and that he should come through. Pat rode up to the apartment with a couple homies, but left them in the whip while he went to collect his paper, but he never came back. Nobody knows exactly what went down.
That's so unfortunate, man. But it's understandable, but it's unfortunate, man.
But Pat was shot and killed that day, and no one was ever arrested. Most people think Weasel is the one who pulled the trigger, but others say it was just a robbery gone bad, and Pat was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Before he died, Pat was looking like Houston's first superstar rapper. He was buzzing all over Texas, working on his debut album, and his homie DJ Screw was getting bigger than ever. Screw had lost people to the streets before, but Pat's death was different. The two of them were supposed to take over the game together, but right when all the hard work was starting to pay off, somebody killed Pat and DJ Screw was never the same. He stayed on the music grind and kept making new Screw tapes, but his health was getting worse and he started drinking more lean. These days, rappers from all over the country talk about sipping lean, but back then it was something unique to the South. Fat Pat rapped about it on some of his biggest tracks like Tops Drop when he said, "Southside, how we hold on a gangster stroll. Music hitting so hard, knocking off side modes. Hit the highway, cruise control, go on, let it roll. Pull up the drink, fire it up, make sure the window's closed." And on Ghetto Dreamz, he rapped, "Alligator shoe when I'm mashing the throttle. Angry supermodel, paparazzi follow. Money, hoes, and clothes, and make my head hollow. I'm drinking out the bottle to ride on my sorrow." Besides drinking lean, DJ Screw had other health problems going on too. He was working constantly, eating bad food, and never sleeping. His homie Al D said they had to take him to the hospital 6 or 7 times and that Screw had at least one heart attack. Lil O from the Screwed Up Clique told The Guardian, "We lived a hard lifestyle. We were staying up all night, sometimes going 3 days with no sleep, chain smoking tobacco and weed. It was a lifestyle that anyone who wasn't on drink might fall victim to a heart attack." Then 2 years after Pat's tragic death, DJ Screw was found dead from a codeine overdose. He had been trying to turn an old warehouse into a massive spot called Screwed Up Headquarters, and that's where his body was discovered. The plan was to put in a recording studio, a place to process tape orders, and even start pressing their own CDs, but Screw never got to finish his vision. Screw wasn't the only Southern legend who died from lean. Pimp C and Bun B formed the crew Underground Kings, aka UGK, and took the Texas rap scene to a new level. They influenced a whole wave of Southern rappers, and a big part of Pimp C's rhymes were about sipping lean. They even linked up with 3 6 Mafia for the track Sippin' on Some Syrup, and Pimp C rapped, "You got the funny Geneva watch with the Ferrari kit. Take that monkey shit off, you embarrassing us. I got the red promethazine, thick orange and yellow tusk. Hydrocodone on the hands-free phone. The 84 Brom on them blades, 20-inch chrome. If you got 16, you can get a bizzard. I'm choking on that Doja Sweet and sipping on that scissor." Then in 2007, Pimp C was found dead in his hotel room from a codeine overdose. That same year, another dude from the Screwed Up Clique named Big Mo died from a heart attack caused by lean. Screw, Big Mo, and Fat Pat weren't the only losses that the Screwed Up Clique had though. Pat's brother Big Hawk had been in the crew since the beginning after Pat introduced him to DJ Screw. The three of them linked up with Lil Kiki and Cold Jack to form another crew called DEA. After Pat and Screw died, Hawk became the leader of the Screwed Up Clique and was nicknamed its 5-star general. Just like Screw, Hawk wanted everyone in the group to win and try to keep the chopped and screwed scene alive. Hawk wasn't really a street dude, and after his brother died, he focused even more on spreading positivity instead of rapping about guns and drugs. That's why what happened in 2006 was so shocking. On May 1st, 2006, Hawk rode up to his homie's house to play domino. When his friend didn't answer the door, Hawk went around the side of the house to look for him, and that's when someone popped out and shot him to death. Just like Fat Pat, Hawk's death has never been solved. People who knew him say that Hawk didn't have enemies anywhere, and all he did was try to help other people, which makes his brutal death even more tragic. Fat Pat, DJ Screw, and Hawk all helped turn Houston into one of the most influential cities in the rap game. Without them, Southern hip-hop definitely wouldn't be the same, and the music they left behind is still influencing people today.